Hello. In this lecture, we're going to learn how to go from a fraction to a percent. We're going to start off with the absolute nicest one that there is. We have 34 over 100. Now, there's a couple of ways you can think about changing from a fraction to a percent. When we change from a percent to a fraction, we would divide by 100 because that's what percent meant to do. Now we're going to do the opposite. So we are going to multiply by 100. And what happens here is because we have 100 in the top and 100 in the bottom, they cancel one another out and we multiply straight across. We have 34 over 1, which is still 34. And now we are a percent, so we have to make note that we now have 34%. Let's go ahead and see another one. Let's say, for instance, we have 9/10. And when we go from a fraction to a percent, we are going to multiply by 100. And I kind of glossed over this in my previous problem. So when you multiply by 100, it's a whole number. You throw it over 1. That way you can work with the fraction. And because we can reduce here, 10 can go into 100 10 times. And 10 goes into itself once. Now we'll multiply straight across. We have 90 over 1. Which is 90%, because now we have a percentage. And if we wanted to go back, we take percent, we take 90, divide it by 100, reduce, and we end up with 9/10. So it's kind of nice. If it doesn't go in exactly even, we got a little bit more work cut out for ourselves. There's a couple of different ways we can write this. Now, I'm going to say we have 13/16, and we're converting this to a percent. And I want us to write it both ways, where we're going to see it as a fraction percent, and we're going to see it as a decimal percent. Their fraction of percent is a little bit nicer to look at it that way because it's easier, but decimal is something you would probably see in the real world used. So when we take this number here, 13/16, in order to change it to a percent, our first step is we're going to multiply by 100. And because 100 is a whole number and we're multiplying by fractions, we'll put it over 1. Now we can reduce here, and let's reduce a little bit to make life easier. 4 can go into 16 4 times, and 4 can go into 100 25 times. Let's start off with fraction. All right. Now there's no more reducing we can do, so we'll multiply straight across, and I'm going to let you guys do this at home. Take 13 times it by 25. Pause the video if you need to. I'm going to tell you now what the answer is, so pause it if you want to figure out on your own. The answer is 325. All over, 4 times 1 is 4. Now this is a percent. So we have 325/4%. Okay, that was nice to write because there wasn't a lot of work that we had to do, but it's not very pretty to look at. So let's go ahead and take this guy, and we're looking at what I've just started with the black star, and we're going to view this as a decimal because it looks a little bit cleaner. Now remember, we have 325 divided by 4. And writing the long division, we'll go ahead and say, okay, 4 times 8 gets us 32. Subtract, we got 0, bring down the 5. 4 times 1 gets us 4. Subtract, we got 1. Now we'll fling some decimal points because we're going to get a decimal, maybe a couple zeros here. Bring down the 0. 4 times 2 is 8. And we have to subtract, and we got 2. Bring down the next digit, we got a 0. And 4 times 5 is exactly 20, so no remainder. So we have 81.25% is the way we could write this percent as a decimal. So, and I guess I should say that a little bit better. This is a decimal percent, right? A decimal with a percent at the end of it. This was a fraction percent. And what we started with was a fraction, and we converted it into a percent in 2 ways, where you could view it with either the fraction percent or the decimal percent. You pick which one you like, okay? Probably many of you like the decimal way better because it just feels nicer. Let's go ahead and see another one. And let's say we are asked to write 1/3 as a percent. But let me give you extra directions, and let's see if I can type it and cheat. I'm going to say we are going to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So when we want to look at this guy, we are going to have a percent that has to be rounded to the nearest tenth of a percent. So we'll have some number, right, whatever it may be, point, and we only have one digit because that's where the tenths is, percent. That's what we should have it looking like. I don't know if there's a number out front there, though, so that's kind of crazy looking. That's the idea we'll keep in the back of our mind. Now, we have 1/3. So to change this into a percent, we multiply it by 100. 100 we could put over 1. There's no reducing we can do in sight, so we'll multiply straight across. And we have 100/3 percent. So this is not ideal. The directions told us to round, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. And we're going to take 3 and divide it into 100. Now, we want to go out 2 decimal places, and bear with me as I write that, because we want to round to the tenths. In order to round to the tenths of the place, we have to go 1 digit out further to tell us to round up or down. So that's why we're going out as far as we are going to. Now, let's just do the long division. 3 times 3 is the closest we get to 10. Subtract, we got 1, bring down the 0. 3 times 3 is the closest we get to 10. Subtract, we got 1, bring down the 0. 3 times 3 is the closest we get to 10. Subtract 1, bring down the 0. And you probably could just put that on repeat and you'll see the same thing again, because this is a repeating decimal and it keeps on going on and on and on. Now, the reason why I went out that extra place is so that I can look at this guy. Because it's a 3, we're going to round down. And our answer, round it to the nearest tenth of a percent, is 33.3%. And that's all. So until next time.